Tuesday night. Tell us how that must have felt. And I saw you tweeted Ava Duvernay directed you.
No. I had a little figurine. She directed. It was more like a joke. Like I had to have my little figurine there. My Ava figurine. Yeah.
So
she didn't direct me in real life.
I know, but see, let me just help you out. Even when I say something like, you don't have to correct it, because everybody would have thought she really did. You know what I'm saying? I saw the picture.
You're right.
I was just going to leave it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right over my head.
So how did that even come about? How did that come to fruition for you all to do that?
Well, I got a phone call from the Biden campaign, and I was pretty shocked because I spoke in 2016, but I knew that it was going to be virtual. There weren't going to be as many speakers. So then I hear we're going to be a part of a collaboration, and to be honest, the phone cut out a little bit, so I really didn't hear any other details. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll look for the email. And then I found out that it was going to be a collaboration, and it was going to be a keynote of sorts. So it was really neat. It was very different from actually being on a stage, but we're in this virtual environment, and it's something that we adapted to easily. So it was a cool experience.
No, it was, and it was great to see. How are you feeling about the campaign, the ticket, and particularly having a Black woman on the ticket?
I'm excited about the ticket. I really thought that from the beginning, Joe Biden really had the experience to make things happen. But when he added Senator Harris, it was like so let me paint the picture for you. I'm sitting in a committee room, the Commerce Committee in Nashville. I'm the only Black woman on the committee. And my phone goes crazy because he has selected Senator Harris. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is such a big deal, right? Like we have a Black woman, a South Asian woman who is on the ticket, I was just ecstatic. So excited. And the representation matters. You have Black women who have carried the Democratic Party for so long, and to have someone at the top of the ticket, that's a big deal. As Joe would say, that's a big effing deal.
Y'all said that Tuesday night too. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. And when I got the script, I'm like, okay, so we have a bunch of elected officials who are supposed to say, that's a big effing deal. And my mom is watching me film it, and I'm like, that's a big effing deal.
No, that's great. It's funny how times change. I remember when Joe Biden first said that, and it was a big deal. And Barack Obama even seemed a little embarrassed. You don't want to do it. But now to hear everybody say it just out loud like that,
leaning into it.
That's great. And it must also, mean something to you. We're first meeting, and I'm hearing about your lineage, the diversity within your own lineage, African American, I presume, and Persian.
Mm-hmm.
You were sort of a Kamala Harris for Tennessee before there was a Kamala Harris for the nation.
Yeah, definitely bring a diverse flavor to the Tennessee General Assembly. I think people didn't know what to make of me when I first got elected. It was kind of hilarious. They really wanted to figure out, have we elected the first Muslim? And I said, no, you haven't. But if you had, it would be a good thing. So miss me with all that nonsense.
Right.
But yeah, they didn't know what to make of me. They butchered my first and last name. They sent out a little email to all the Republicans. It's kind of hilarious, saying it's Akbari, like the hackberry tree. So forever, a ton of them called me Hackberry. Mm-hmm. And so I told them, I said, no, it's Akbari like Blackberry. I said, but if you call me Blackberry, I'm going to call you a racist. So.
Right. So you can obviously then relate to some of the things Kamala Harris is facing right now, can't you? And let me ask you about this too, because I'm gonna tell you now, some of our own trip. I've been talking to some of my brethren, some Black men. So y'all are tripping. We need to get this together. Have you had that experience in your life, even with fellow Black folk yourself? Where are you from? Who are you? Are you really one of us? Have you had to navigate that too?
Well, I didn't realize, because when you grow up and you identify and you feel like you're a Black American, and then you get around people who don't really know you. So when I went to college, it was interesting because I remember I was the president of the Association of Black Students, and the vice president, she was mixed Black and white. And apparently we were talking about like Black issues on campus and all that. And this guy walked up to us in the store and he was super offended. And I'm like, listen, we're all Black here. Okay. So this is ridiculous. And I remember being at a comedy show with my sister. I have a twin sister. And so the guy was like, can all the Puerto Ricans give a shout out? And he's looking at us like, raise your hand. All the Hawaiians. And we're like, he kept going on. And finally he said, well, what are you? And my sister said, we're Black and Persian. He said, it's all good. Just a little bit of sand in the motherland. So I had to deal with that, kind of, roll it off with humor. But I think that it's interesting when you have multiple identities. And I think we all really do. But more so, I think it's also being a woman. That's one of those things where people are like, hey, wait a minute, you need to wait your turn, or you shouldn't do this. Like when I decided to run for Senate, I had a lot of my male colleagues who thought, maybe you should have talked to me first before you made this decision. And I'm thinking, I talked to people, I talked to my family, I talked to my tribe of women who support me. And it's ridiculous. I think you have like that double edge. One, people who just don't think you're Black enough, which is crazy. And then also people who think, hey, you're a woman, you need to wait your turn. Or even for me, when I first got there, I was younger, I was 29. So they definitely thought, sit down, little girl, learn a few things. And I mean, I understand. I understand when you get a seat at the table, you don't have to flip it. You can learn and adapt and bring them all over to your side. I'm with it. I know when you're new, you shouldn't just tear stuff up, but you should also make sure your voice is heard.
Absolutely. And I find it interesting too, as I'm sure you do. I am hearing, especially from women, across all nationalities and ethnic groups and cultures, who see themselves in Kamala Harris too, wherever they're from. Because I mean, let's face it, you're right. Most of us are more diverse than either we realize or we'd like to admit.
Right.
For sure. That's the deal. So you feeling confident about this November?
I am. I think that people are ready for a change. I think that when you look at the amount of fundraising that occurred after Senator Harris was added to the ticket, I mean, what they say, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. So that was pretty impressive. And I think that beyond the initial announcement bump, there will be longevity there. I mean, she's going to mop the floor with Mike Pence. We already know that. She's not afraid to ask the tough questions, and she's been able to balance that stigma of coming across as an angry Black woman, which is so unfortunate and aggravating even still. And I think that it just resonates. I mean, we're facing three tremendous issues in our country, and Stacey Abrams highlighted this last night, from the global pandemic that was so poorly handled by the Trump administration, rolling into an economic crisis, and certainly the issues of racial injustice that have been raised, where people are in the streets crying out, this is not right. Our country should be different. And then you have Donald Trump tear gassing them so that he can take a photo with a Bible that he had upside down. I mean, folks are ready for a change. I think that we have states that are in play now, like Georgia and Texas. And the cool thing about it, because I'm in the state house, so I understand, they have the potential to flip those state houses, those legislatures. And that's how redistricting occurs. So they are in charge of redistricting. So I'm excited about all the possibilities at the top of the ticket and down ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about our sister, oh my God, who just won the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate in Tennessee? Do we have a shot with that, Senator?
Tennessee is very red. It's really difficult. It is a presidential year, so anything can happen. I mean, Marquita Bradshaw made history, first Black woman to be the nominee for a major party in a statewide race. She's very active in the community. The environmental justice is a big push for her. And I think people are starting to wrap their minds around it. Initially, they were supporting another candidate. He had a lot of party and, for the support of the institution, per se. And he had about $2 million, which is nothing in a statewide race. But she had like 12,000 and she won. And I think it also highlighted Memphis has the highest concentration of Democratic voters. And if you ignore Memphis, it is to your own peril because you will not win the state.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're absolutely right. And so what are, I know Tennessee's very red, but what are some of the main issues that Tennesseans are most concerned about this election season?
Honestly, they're concerned about healthcare, and it's been that way for the past couple of years. Our Republican legislature refuses to expand Medicaid. We're one of the few states. See, now you have like 12 states left. It was different when President Obama was in office and they could say, we don't want Obamacare. Southern states aren't doing this, but they are. And now with this pandemic, you have people who have to drive an hour, 45 minutes to a hospital. I mean, that is absurd. So that's a big issue. Surprisingly, medicinal marijuana polls very well. Vanderbilt has done several studies, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to push across that line because we don't have a state income tax. So being able to regulate and sell this product could really help us. Also criminal justice reform, and that's a bipartisan issue, shockingly. I mean, on one hand, last week the legislature decided to criminalize protesting, which was ridiculous and just absurd and just wrong. And then also on the other hand, though, they're saying we want to completely reorganize our criminal laws and reduce sentencing for some of our lower offenses. So those are the three big issues we're dealing with. And of course, the economy. I mean, our minimum wage lines with the federal government, $7.25 an hour. That's not enough to raise a family. That is what we call the working poor, what Dr. King fought so bravely for. People who work a full job and they still qualify for benefits. I mean, that's not a place that we want to be. So those are the issues. Hopefully we can pick up some seats and see what happens.